Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Vandal Theory, a podcast about science and research at University of Idaho. I'm Danae Lenz, External Communications Coordinator at U of I, and host of our America 250 summer mini-season, exploring U of I's place in the American story. Military instruction has been a part of the university since its earliest days, and generations of Vandals have gone on to serve in conflicts ranging from the Spanish-American War to the present day. In this episode, we're talking with Ross Warren, a career consultant at U of I who previously ran the university's Army ROTC program. We're discussing the university's military history and its long-standing role in preparing students for service. Let's dive in. Hi, Ross. Welcome to the Vandal Theory.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for this discussion.
To start off this conversation, can you just tell us a little bit about what you do at U of I?
So I've done several things at U of I. Currently, I work in career services as a career consultant. I've also done some instruction in the history department and the political science department. And I'm a 2004 U of I grad. I came through the Army ROTC program here and spent about 2 decades in the Army, the last part of it back here running the ROTC program for the Army on campus.
We're going to talk today about U of I's military history, and you know a lot about this. Can you just kind of give us the overview of what U of I's involvement has been in the military history of Idaho?
Absolutely. So the university has been a major contributor to the defense of the republic. The university started military instruction in 1894 with the Department of Military Science as part of the university's land grant mission. The university has 3 courses of instruction that it needs to have under that land grant agreement. One is agriculture, the other is engineering, and finally military science. So for well over a century, the U of I has supported military training, predominantly the training of military officers. U of I's students have contributed to every conflict since the Spanish-American War in 1898, all the way through World War I, World War II, all the way up to the present day. So there's been a long string of support and history that's just really enmeshed with the university's educational mission and really is a contributor to the defense of the nation.
Can you go more into what some of those conflicts looked like for U of I students? Like the first one was the Spanish American War. What did that look like?
So for the Spanish-American War, and this is the university's largest contribution by percentage. When that conflict arose, 39 students at the U of I out of a student body of only a little over 200 enlisted to serve in that conflict. They enlisted in the 1st Idaho Volunteers, and they served overseas in the Philippines. Also, the head of the Department of Military Instruction, Lieutenant E.R. Chrisman, was recalled to active service as well during that conflict, left the university and commanded a regiment in Cuba, earning the Silver Star. Lieutenant Chrisman was also an instructor in the math department, so we can kind of see the crossover of the educational aspect with the military aspect. So a very large chunk of the student body served overseas in that conflict. And that's also why, of all the military memorials on campus, and there are several in Memorial Gym, one stands alone, and that's the Spanish American War Memorial in front of the administration building. You'll see a lone soldier standing there. And that is not only a testament to the service of all of those students that enlisted and served, as well as Lieutenant Chrisman, who was on the faculty. 2 of those students that served in the Philippines died in the Philippines, Paul Draper and Ollie Hagbard. And speaking to the family aspect of the university, Ollie Hagbard is a very interesting story. He was an immigrant from Norway, did not have any family here in the United States. He was considered an outstanding student, very popular on campus, but when he was killed, there was no place for his remains or personal effects to be returned to. So the president of the university at the time, President McLean, petitioned the War Department and had the university named as his next of kin. His body and personal effects were returned to the university, and the university oversaw his interment in the cemetery here in Moscow. So that's why you see such a prominent memorial for that particular conflict, and it really set that foundation for what we saw in World War I, World War II, and et cetera into today.
And what about some of the later conflicts? Like, what about Vietnam? What happened with that?
So in Vietnam, obviously the very controversial, very contested in the nation, and the university was not immune to that. There was significant controversy about the university providing military training on campus. At that point, when we have gotten into the Vietnam era, not only was there Army ROTC, there was Navy and Air Force. So the university was actively involved in producing soldiers, airmen, Marines, and sailors for that conflict. There was also research going on that for military applications with, say, Dow Chemical and some of the other companies contributing to that. And with the unrest and the protests across the country, that found its way to U of I. And it was very contested on campus to the point where 1970, if I remember correctly, the Navy ROTC building was actually set on fire. So much like the university in general, it's a reflection of the larger national narrative. Obviously the university and the student body emerged from that, and there certainly is much more agreeable atmosphere on campus, but it certainly was a contentious time.
Give me a little bit more history of ROTC. It's been involved since basically the beginning of the university, and I know it's evolved over the years.
So yes, the ROTC as it's in its current form began in 1916 with the National Defense Act of 1916. It was part of the preparedness movement for World War I. Although military instruction had been taking place beforehand, this was a more formalized process. So in 1916, Army ROTC arrived on campus, and it was a compulsory program. If you were a male taking college courses, you were required to take at least 2 years of military instruction. And at that point, you could continue on and earn your commission as a reserve officer, or you could cease there. And the goal was to create a pool of manpower to be brought into the military in a time of emergency, and you could quickly turn these individuals with these college educated individuals into officers. And that continued to expand. So after 1916, the U of I was in directly involved in officer production. And that, of course, took place during World War I and World War II. And then ROTC expanded after World War II. The Navy program arrived on campus in 1945. And then with the creation of the Air Force in 1947, that program arrived on campus as well. So you went from somewhat informal Department of Military Science in the late 19th century to by the mid 20th century, you now have a formalized federal process to create officers to serve on active duty across all three branches of the U.S. military.
So beyond ROTC, what other military contributions has the university made?
So ROTC revolves really around producing officers, but the university has also supported preparation and training for enlisted soldiers in times of conflict. During World War I, there was a creation of a student army training corps to provide specialized training for enlisted soldiers. And then the largest program in World War II was a naval radio training program that trained radio operators in radio theory, some mathematics to provide those individuals to serve primarily in the Pacific theater. And that's a departure from just the pure officer production and really leveraging university technical skills to provide and train enlisted soldiers, sailors into service for conflict. So the university has not only utilized their facilities for officer training, but also just meeting the technical needs for an expanded military force in times of crisis.
So to close this out, I just want to ask, what do you most want people to take away from this history?
So a couple of things. First, the university is absolutely enmeshed with the nation in providing defense of the U.S. But the other message or the other theme that I would like everybody to take away from is military service is the ultimate form of optimism. We're here at 250 years of America and the U.S. being an independent nation, and military service is optimistic because it believes that this is worth being preserved. We're here to try to perfect the union. We certainly are not a perfect union today, and maybe we won't in 300 years or 350 years. But military service is a group of individuals that are willing to put their lives on the line to give us the time as Americans to perfect the union and really get it right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been a great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. And go Vandals.
Thank you for listening to the Vandal Theory. You can visit our website at go.uidaho.edu/Vandal Theory to learn more about our research and listen to previous episodes. Email us at vandaltheory@uidaho.edu. We are on all of the podcasting platforms, so please rate, review, and subscribe. I'm Danae Lenz. Thanks for listening.